Level 1, the ship's boy. You are 12 years old and you signed the articles 3 weeks ago in a Nassau tavern because a merchant crew you served on got taken by a sloop flying no colors at all, and the alternative to signing was swimming. You carry cartridges of gunpowder from the magazine to the gun deck. That's the whole job. Up and down a ladder, wrap charge in your arms, through smoke that stings your eyes before the first shot is even fired. Nobody trains you for this beyond a boatswain's mate grabbing your collar once and saying don't run with an open flame near the magazine, boy, or there won't be enough of you left to bury. You learn fast. You learn the smell of slow match burning. You learn which sailors will step over you if you fall and which ones won't. In your first engagement, a merchantman that strikes her colors without a shot fired. You feel almost let down. You expected worse. The old hands tell you not to worry. You'll see worse. Level 2, the able seaman. 2 years pass and you can hand, reef, and steer, which is the whole definition of the rank, and it sounds simple until you're 80 feet up a mast in a squall at night reefing a topsail with one hand while the other holds your life. You've been rated able for 6 months. You take your watch, you haul line until your palms are leather, you eat what the cook gives you and you don't complain about it because on this ship there's an actual clause in the articles about complaining, and it isn't a kind one. You've started to notice things. The captain eats what you eat, mostly, unlike the merchant vessels you served on before. That much of the reputation is true. But you've also noticed who gets consulted before a raid and who just gets told where to stand. You are still being told where to stand. Level 3, the gunner's mate. You've got a steady hand and a good eye, so the master gonna pulls you onto his crew, and now your job during an engagement is to run out, aim, and fire a 9-pounder alongside 3 other men on a rolling deck at a target that is shooting back. You learn to read the swell, so you fire on the down roll, when the barrel's pointed at the waterline of an enemy hull instead of empty sky. You learn how long it takes to swab, load, ram, prime, and fire, and you learn that number matters more than almost anything else in this life, because the crew that reloads faster usually doesn't need a second broadside. In your third fight, you watch a linstock spark too early, and a man 2 guns down loses 3 fingers to his own charge. Nobody stops the fight to help him. He wraps his hand in his own shirt and keeps loading with the fingers he has left. You understand, watching him, that this ship doesn't stop for anyone, not even for its own. Level 4, the master gunner. 8 years in and you command the guns yourself now, 12 of them if the ship's a decent sloop, more if you've taken a bigger prize and kept her. You know the weight of every kind of shot, round for hulls, chain for rigging, grape for men standing on an open deck. Before every engagement the quartermaster tells you the goal, take her masts or take her rudder or just make her strike without sinking her because a ship that sinks is plunder you can't spend, and you translate that into which shot goes down which barrel. You are trusted with the one resource on the ship that ends fights, and that trust comes with a price. If your guns fail during a fight, men die who wouldn't have otherwise, and everyone on that ship knows exactly whose failure it was. There's no captain to blame it upward to. It sits on you. Level 5, the boatswain. You've been given the pipe and the rattan cane, and your job now is keeping the ship itself alive, rigging, sails, anchor cables, the 100 pieces of wood and rope that have to work together or the whole vessel is just cargo floating in the wrong direction. You also keep discipline on deck, which the articles hand to you directly, because on this ship the captain doesn't flog men on a whim the way the Navy does. There's a process, a vote, even for serious punishments. You administer whatever the crew decides. You've had to lay 12 strokes across the back of a man you drank with the night before, because he stole from a crewmate, and the articles are clear on theft among the company. He doesn't hold it against you afterward. That's the part that took you longest to understand, that fairness here isn't kindness, it's just a system, and you're the tool the system uses on people the same as anyone else the system uses. Level 6, the sailing master. You've earned the wheel and the charts, and now the whole crew's survival runs through your reckoning, dead reckoning mostly, log line and compass and a memory for currents that took a decade to build. You plot the course to a hunting ground off the windward passage. You read weather before it's visible. You know when a shift in the swell means a reef is closer than the chart admits. A mistake here doesn't cost a man his fingers. It costs the ship, all of it, everyone aboard, on a shoal at night with nobody the wiser until the hull opens up. You've grounded a sloop once, early in your time at this, on a falling tide off a quay that wasn't marked right on the chart you'd copied from a Spanish prize. Nobody died. You still think about it more than the engagements where they did. Level 7, the quartermaster. The crew elected you, same as they elected the captain, and that's the part outsiders never understand about this life. There are 2 men in charge here, not one, and you're the check on him. The captain commands in battle and in chase, full authority, no argument because a fight needs one voice. Everywhere else, the ship is yours. You settle disputes between crewmen before they turn into knife fights. You divide the plunder according to the articles, and you make sure the division actually happens the way it's written. Captain's shares capped, no man's cut skimmed. You lead the boarding parties yourself, first over the rail most times, because a quartermaster who won't board isn't a quartermaster the crew respects. You've started to see the whole shape of the operation now, from up here. The captain gets the reputation. You do most of the actual running of the ship. History, if it remembers this crew at all, will remember one name from this deck, and it was never going to be yours. Level 8, the captain. They elected you after the last captain was voted out for cowardice during a chase, which is the other thing outsiders don't understand, that this office can be taken from a man as easily as it was given. You hold total authority in battle and none at all over the ship's money or its discipline outside of it. You plan the hunt, you decide which sail on the horizon is worth the risk and which one you let pass. You stand exposed on the quarterdeck in every engagement because a captain who hides below during a fight doesn't keep the office long, elected or not. You eat the same rations as the crew. You sleep in a cabin no bigger than the space affords. You take 6 shares of a prize where an ordinary hand takes 1, and every man on that ship has done the arithmetic on that difference at some point, the same as you did when you were the one adding it up. You know what they whisper. You were one of the men whispering it once. Command doesn't erase what you learned from the deck. It just moves you to the other side of it. Level 9, the hunted. Every government with a navy in these waters wants your head on a warrant, and every prize you take adds weight to the bounty and the reputation both, and the two grow together whether you want them to or not. You put in at hidden coves to careen the hull, scraping barnacles and wormrot off timber by torchlight because a slow ship is a dead ship in these waters. You read the king's pardon when it circulates through the islands, offering any man who surrenders a clean slate, and you watch half your crew take it and walk off into ordinary lives while you calculate the odds of your own name being on the list of those who get hanged regardless of paper promises. Some captains take the pardon and go quiet. Some don't believe it applies to a man with a bounty as large as yours, and they're usually right not to believe it. You've started planning your last fight without telling anyone that's what what you're doing. Level 10, the name in the ledger. Whether it ends in a rope on a dock in front of a crowd that came for the spectacle, or in a quiet retirement on a pardon in some colonial backwater under a name that isn't your own, the ending looks the same from outside. A trial record, if there's a trial. A newspaper account, if you were famous enough to earn one, with your name spelled the way whichever clerk felt like spelling it that day. The gunner who kept your broadsides accurate for a decade isn't in that account. The quartermaster who ran the actual ship isn't in it either. The boy who carried powder up a ladder at 12 years old, who is now a grown man with a scarred back and half his hearing gone from a decade of cannon fire, isn't in it at all. If you're one of the ones who lives long enough to walk away, there's no parade for that. There's just a dock, a colonial port, and the rest of a life you have to build with nothing but the fact that you're still breathing to build it from. Nobody claps you on the back for surviving a life that was built to spend you. But you do survive it, some of you, and on quiet nights years later you'll still hear the pipe calling all hands, and you'll still know exactly what to do, even with no ship left to do it on. Somewhere right now, another boy just lost his mother, and a ship needs someone small enough to fit where grown men can't. He'll be called brave for something that was never his choice. And in 20 years, if he's lucky, he'll walk off some dock alive, uncounted by history, and call that enough. The cycle continues.